let's go to some breaking news. Yesterday was Groundhog's Day, although it does kind of feel like it today, because here we go again. This morning we learned that New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft was not selected as a first-year Hall of Fame inductee. Kraft did not receive enough votes from the 50-person selection committee to be included in the class of 2026, which will be presented Thursday night at NFL Honors in San Francisco. And so let's react to this, guys, and what we think, because, again, we just went through this with the whole situation with Bill Belichick. I mean, it feels like it was yesterday. It was a few days ago now, and now we're seeing the same thing happen with Robert Kraft. Your reaction?
Crazy. I mean, this is just like this is 11th Super Bowl. Jerry Jones is in. All the things that Robert Kraft has done as a Patriot owner for the organization. This is the most winning organization since, in recent, and they're a competitor of mine. But both these men deserve to get all 50 votes to get in. They've earned it, and I'm shocked that, again, he hasn't gotten in. I thought with the whole process conversation that people were talking about, they may have split votes between Kraft and Belichick, but turns out neither are getting in, which just, honestly, it just sours the whole process, because when it is announced, the two names that aren't on the ballot are going to be the ones that probably garner the most attention. And that's not what the Pro Football Hall of Fame is really all about. So just disappointed for Robert Kraft, again, not making it into the Hall of Fame this year.
They got it out for your Patriots, huh? What's going on?
You look at this, and I think Belichick was the first part. When you see Bill Belichick not being elected as a first ballot, you know there's something wrong. And now Kraft is up, and he's not getting his opportunity. I think, to your point, Jeff, we continue to talk about the process with this. And these two names not going in is now going to shine a light on the process. Because when Bill didn't get in, a lot of people sat there and they said, well, what the hell is the process? I have no idea how this thing is voted on, who chooses, whether it's going to be Belichick, whether it's going to be... They started something new this year, and there are 5 guys that were up in this category. 3 of them were players, 2 of them were Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. There's something wrong with that just doesn't make sense. And I'm speaking from the perspective of, I was on a football team where Robert Kraft was the owner. His office is right there at the stadium. He often was in the team meeting room. He was there talking with the players in the locker room. He was so involved in that. He deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I think all of this, to your point, when we get to the summer, we're not going to be talking about the guys that are going in. We're still going to be talking about Kraft and Belichick.
Hey, Stephen A., I know you're close with Kraft. What was your reaction to this news this morning?
I wasn't surprised. I was appalled. I mean, obviously, he deserves to be a Hall of Famer. He's been the owner for 32 years. In 32 years, he has 13 more regular season games, 13 more postseason games than any other NFL team, for crying out loud. Dang. This is a man that's won 20 division titles in 32 seasons. This is a man that in his 32-year reign as the owner, they've been to the Super Bowl with 3 different head coach quarterback combinations. Bill Parcells with Drew Bledsoe, Belichick with Brady, and now Vrabel with Drake May. And this is the man that has been at the helm. 6-time Super Bowl champion. This is his 11th appearance in a Super Bowl in 32 years, which means basically he gets to the Super Bowl once every 3 years, for crying out loud. And you're leaving him out. So we all know it's egregious. We all know it's just absolutely disgusting, and the Hall of Fame should be the Hall of Shame. They've minimized and diluted their own product, and they don't even know how badly they've done it as of yet. And I'm going to tell y'all this too. You're talking about going up there, and whether, it's the Ken Andersons, the Roger Craigs of the world, or the L.C. Greenwood got arrested. So you're talking about folks like that that'll be mentioned and their names pop up, but Belichick and Kraft would be omitted. And we're talking about the upcoming Hall of Fame. Hey, guys, look at the trend. So Belichick's not in. Kraft's not in. What you going to do next? You going to deny Tom Brady? You're going to deny Tom Brady. You're going to look at Tom Brady and be like this, you don't go to the Hall of Fame? And here's so we all know, you might as well burn down the building. Might as well burn down the building. That happened. There is no Hall of Fame. If you can't have Tom Brady up in there as a first ballot Hall of Famer, the credibility of the institution that is the Hall of Fame goes right out the freaking window. It's over. So we understand that, right? And then you look at it and you say, let's think about the all-time great quarterbacks. Let's take Spygate. Let's take, Deflategate. Let's take all of that. What coach would say Bill Belichick doesn't deserve to be a Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer? No one. What owner would say Robert Kraft doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer? No one. Could you find me? You couldn't find a player in Pop Warner that would tell you Tom Brady don't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, let alone high school, college, pros. There is no athlete. There is no athlete in any sport on the planet, in America or the world over, that would tell you that Tom Brady ain't a first ballot Hall of Famer. What you gonna do to him next? Because based on what we're seeing, that's the trend. We could go with the new system and you lump coaches and, senior leaders and stuff like that. You lump all of them into the same bowl and you pick from that. You could do all of that. I don't care about all of that. In the end, you're talking about an 8-time champion in Bill Belichick, a 6-time champion and owner Robert Kraft, a 7-time champion in Tom Brady. 2 of them have already been denied first ballot entry. And based on the trend, they're going to do it to Tom Brady too. It makes no sense whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, it's the Hall of Shame. It doesn't even matter anymore. Right here today, we ain't talking about the Hall of Fame in football no more. It doesn't have any credibility. It is a waste of time to be talking about on the national airwaves. They are nothing, and they should be perceived as being nothing. They're a waste of time.
We only have a few minutes left then to get on this subject, because then we're going to move on. Do you think this is setting the precedent then that Brady will be denied as a first-team Hall of Famer?
I don't, because when you listen to some of the voters talk about Belichick not going in and Kraft not going in, a lot of them have talked about the process and not voting for those guys because the thought process was they'll eventually get in, where now with the names that Stephen A. just talked about with Roger Craig and that crew, where this may be their last opportunity to get in. So you don't vote for the Robert Krafts and the Bill Belichicks. When Brady gets up, I don't think that's going to be the same type of conversation. When he's around those players, you're not going to sit there and say, I'm going to go with someone over. Contributors and players are different. And I think in this situation, a lot of those voters decided to go with the players. Brady was playing. He was out there on the field, and he was impacting the results of the game. And I think that's what's going to be the difference.
Well, the thing that I think you need to be careful about, J. Mack, is that you're absolutely right if that's the reason Belichick and Kraft were left out as first ballot Hall of Famers. But if you have voters out there that want to call themselves policing the system per se, and their reasoning was Spygate, point 1 and 2.0, along with Deflategate, you know what? That's all the reason you need to omit Tom Brady as a first ballot Hall of Famer. So you're absolutely right. If we're talking about finalists, you're talking about coaches, senior players, stuff like that. That's different. And lumping them all in and trying to pick one. No. You got people out there. There were 11 people that didn't vote for Belichick, all right? And the excuse was Spygate. So what I'm saying to you is that if that's the line that they're holding, like the Baseball Writers Association of America and what their attitude was when it came to the Mark McGuires, the Sammy Sosas, the Barry Bonds of the world, Roger Clemens, others, people like that. If football writers, if football voters are doing that, and that's the reason behind Belichick and Kraft not getting in, then Tom Brady doesn't get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. And I'm telling you, if that happens, you might as well burn the building down. Yeah. Because I don't know if people will show up after that, because they'll be embarrassed to show up to be considered a Hall of Famer if you left Tom Brady out. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a great point. And the truth is, the relationship that Tom Brady had with the media and the relationship Bill Belichick had with the media were 2 totally different relationships, right? So we can make all kinds of excuses of why he didn't get all 50 votes. They're all ridiculous. He deserved all 50 to get in. Bill Belichick did. I do not think it had. To Stephen A's point, if it did happen, it would completely destroy the credibility of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And they've already taken such a beating on this. I think they're going to change process. I think they're going to get their.
By the time that comes.
I think they're going to get everything lined up and get it. The T's crossed and the I's dotted. This has been an absolute firestorm.
Disaster.
And the last thing that the Hall of Fame wants to be is when guys are getting inducted and all we're talking about is 2 people who didn't get in. That is an absolute travesty for the men who earned it and got in.
And then talking about might not get in later on. Go ahead, Essay. Final word.
The other thing I wanted to point to is this. This is the other part about the Hall of Shame that's so egregious. So Tom Brady and Bill Belichick specifically, just like you guys did, put your talent on public display. Yeah. You don't get to perform in private. You're performing on the field. There are tens of thousands of people in attendance watching you in person, and there's millions watching you on television, spanning decades. but the voters get to be private. How that make sense?
Yeah.
How that make sense? So in other words, people who performed in a public forum are judged privately about what they did publicly. Guys, let me put it to you in this perspective. You could be a criminal and you still have to get judged by your peers, a jury of your peers. And oh, by the way, they don't get to be clandestine. They're sitting right in front of you, listening to the case that is being argued against you, and they have to make a decision right in front of your face, guilty or not guilty. So in other words, I bring that comparison up because potentially stone cold criminals are treated better with more rights than professional elite athletes worthy of the Hall of Fame, players and coaches. Think about that. Think about that twist that I just threw out there. It makes no sense whatsoever. You get to vote privately, and the Hall of Shame comes out with a statement when they know they're flagrantly wrong, when they know their system is straight trash, and they literally come out publicly with a statement chastising voters about any potential mishaps rather than owning the flagrant mishaps in their system. This is the world we're living in. It's a disgrace. And the only reason I brought up Tom Brady is because it's clearly evident that that's what this is on the road. That's what's on the road to happening. You nixed and snubbed Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, and you're going to do it next to Tom Brady. And if they do it to him, burn down the building. It makes no sense for it to even exist, Football Hall of Fame, without Tom Brady as a first ballot, please.